but it is the 12. All right, so this week I wondered what we should work on, and as I gave it some prayer, I got the message of diagramming a sentence. And when I dug into it a little bit today, you can spend hours and hours on this because we're so unfamiliar with Hebrew that it's probably good that we spend the time. As Nathan asked me, how long do I spend on it? I spend about 40 hours a week, if not a little more. And that's because I do have more time than a young person does. Even though I'm still working, I don't have children. So diagramming a Hebrew sentence was what came to my mind. And subject, verb, object is the basic he ate apple. He ate apple. So subject is he, ate is the verb, and apple is the is what he ate, the object of what he ate. And so as you're thinking about Hebrew, think about subject, verb, object is the same in Hebrew, but I'm going to show you just kind of how complicated these can be. We have in this sentence, let no man say when he is tempted that it is of God. And I probably, it looks like I missed one. For God cannot be tempted with evil. Wait a minute. So it says, let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man. Okay? And so when you go back through this, does the King James actually say that? Or did the Hebrew actually say what the King James says it says? And I think we can pretty well trust that they did their best, if not a lot better than I can do. Not sure yet, because there are differences, and a lot of times when we coax out the differences, we're rewarded with it. And so the subject is man, or a man, and then you have this adverb, when, and then you have the prefix, which is this yod here, and a verb, when will come, got. So what's that one? That would be yeah. Va'ga'a, a lot of gutturals in there. Va'ga'a, and then bo, and at him. So there's masculine, feminine, and then we're gonna have to get used to that because we don't have masculine, feminine like the Spanish do. Trials and temptations. So nasaon, and this right here is a negation, which is al yadabar. And al is a negation. It also can mean other things like on or at. So really we're saying, man, when will come to him trials, don't speak with his heart. So that's im labo, im labo. Le'amor, to say. So with his heart to say, temptations, nasaun, from me'ot Elohim, who, me'ot Elohim, who. So is, are, and so with his heart to say, temptations from Elohim are. And that's kind of like, the English, because ki, ha Elohim, now that's direct object Elohim, because for the God or God, ha asher, as which, And then here's another negation. See, that's it. And then new. That's that's a funny word for us. Cannot. Whoops. From try to evil. So he can't do evil. He can't try evil. As well, then there's that negation again. Lo inosha tempt all mankind. Okay. So, how could we make that better than the King James? How can we make that? Is there anything different in this than the King James? And so, if you go back over this, a man, when will come at him trials, don't say in his heart, temptations from Elohim are, because God is which cannot try evil, as well anyway, not tempt all mankind. So how do we interpret that, Nathan? Is there a better way to say that than the King James? Or is King James pretty good? What do you think? Any ideas?
I like the way that the King James words it. I also like the direct, more literal way to do it. If I was going to write my own record, I would put what do you call it? Like the backslashes, and I'd put all the words that might also mean what is made. I don't know. That's just me. Like I like having like in my translation I did earlier, I used the word emissary.
Yeah.
Personally, I think it sounds pretty cool. I think it's kind of.
Yeah, for the shliach.
I believe so. Yeah. In the opening,
It says he's an emissary or an apostle,
right,
or a missionary, or
a messenger,
an envoy, a messenger,
or a courier.
Yeah.
Seems to me that emissary, it sounds pretty cool, and I think it's kind of appropriate because he's basically an ambassador from King Jesus, right?
Yeah, from King Jesus,
and it's an official letter.
And even the 12, if we take it literally that he was a bishop of Jerusalem, that would make him a high priest of Aaron. And so when he represents the 12, I mean the Aaronic is lesser, as Joseph said, but only in the pecking order, because remember when Aaron got full of himself, he said, well, hey, Moses, I get Revelation 2. What's wrong with you? And then he got leprosy because he rebelled against Moses. So we're not, as priests to the Melchizedek, I guess bishops aren't supposed to get full of themselves and try to usurp. So, as an emissary or a witness, I mean, he did witness Jesus Christ after his resurrection. So he could be, in that strict sense, an apostle. But you were saying, anyway, you like to have the slashes in there, huh?
Well, I mean, I don't think I would prefer to have the slashes, but it seems like there's not a direct equivalent from Hebrew to English.
No.
So we have a couple words that would suffice. And, no, why not?
Well, when you see scripture, though, they do try to nail it. Would you agree? They tried to nail it.
Yeah, that would be ideal.
And tried to nail it with the essence of the right word, the right definition.
But it also would be nice to have the words arranged the way they are. That's another trick. I think we should try to do that. Try to arrange this sentence structure in a way that is both understandable in English, but goes along with the Hebrew. I don't know if I'm making sense in that, but That's
No,
kind
that's
of what.
right. So, going back to where we were, if I force myself, I think I'm going to force myself to diagram these sentences because I think I can get, there are negation characters and prepositions that change the way that the meaning changes the meaning. So don't speak. So al idabar is don't speak instead of speak or at your speak. You got to know the rules. So man, when you'll come at him, those are all those different colors there represent those parts of speech. Trials a noun, man's a noun, and then you have al idabar. Dabar is used everywhere, but when you see idabar or edibar, that has a different. That means future, will, right? Edibar. So you also want to know those rules as well. So when man comes to his trials, won't he shall not say, is the way we would say it, with in his heart. Uh, Again, to say, do not speak. So you got the speak up here, and then in his heart to say. So they're using two different verbs that are speaking and to say, and then they use temptations again. They use temptations throughout this whole thing, and then from me'et Elohim are is. So that's that state of being is kept out there on the end of that phrase, and then because God, as which cannot do evil, I guess from try to evil, from trying to evil. That's kind of weird, isn't it? From try to evil, he cannot. That means God cannot be tempted, right? And then as well, right as well. That's kin gum, and then not tempt all mankind. So as well. So when you see neither tempteth he any man is the way that the King James renders it. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil. So, boy, how did they do that? Cannot be tempted with evil. Because God which cannot from so that meh from trials, we could say from trials to evil. That's where you got to get good at finding these answers. The the lamed can be a 4 or a 2. So to God, to evil. Yeah, so get good at looking these up. To evil, and as well not tempt all mankind. So from temptation cannot. So God cannot be tempted. As well, all mankind not tempt. And so, cannot be tempted with evil as well. So he can't be tempted with. He can't do. It looks to me like he can't do evil, as well. He can't tempt mankind. It's kind of the way I read it. So, is there anything is there a better way to say that? Has anybody got any ideas? Want to take a stab at it, Nathan?
I don't know. I think it would be better for me to learn Hebrew. Like your notes there with the gam. I
Yep.
think that's way to string two words together instead of the v, and I just don't understand it. So I think if I understood that, I'd be able to be a lot more flexible. But I wouldn't,
Kingdom, right? Yeah, right as well. Anyway,
I wouldn't be able to document it other than just saying, "Well, I know Hebrew," which I don't.
yeah. Well, what do you think of the idea? Go ahead.
But
What do you think of forcing yourself to diagram these sentences?
I think that's probably going to be the hardest part, honestly. Making it
Yeah.
easy to read and digest. I think that's going to be harder than anything else.
Well, I'm on to my second week of doing it. There's probably, though, as with English, you get used to it. But you have to practice. You have to work at it. So, if we took kin gum, or let's see, kin gum, that's the one that you brought up, and we highlight that, and then we go to, I don't know.
Well, can meaning yes.
Yeah.
I'm just guessing. Like,
let's just see what Google Translate does for kin gum. Yes to, gum. Yes as well means the same as to, right? Yes as well. And so if we were to take and put in, there's kol adam, kol adam. Kol is often used. You're going to see that all over the place. Yes as well, and then kol adam. So does everyone. Kol adam could be all mankind or everyone. Yeah. So if we put try from evil in there, what do we get? Here's try. Home. Oops. I should just type it. What is it? It's Menusa. Wow. Yeah. Every human being also tries. Menusa. And then to evil. Lera. Yeah. And then put that in there. Whoops. Everyone is trying to do the same. See, you kind of go, what? No, that's not what he was saying. So Google Translate doesn't really help much in a lot of cases. But you can get kind of individual words that do pretty good. So, use it with reserve. So if we looked lera, and we brought it over into Reverso, this is another tool. Lera is evil or bad. For evil, yeah. So the lamed is the prefix, and ra is evil. So, yep, okay. Well, I guess that, pretty much sums up what I've been doing. By now, the consonants, the vowel pointings are pretty simple, wouldn't you say, Nathan?
Yeah. I think I can with confidence. I can use the keyboard. There's a couple things I have to look up, but the PDF is readily available, so it's not really a problem to know how to use the keyboard.
Yeah, and are you using the Tyndall keyboard, or are you using a different one?
The Tyndall.
Okay.
Had problems before, but it loaded right up.
Okay. Russell had a few problems, but so if you haven't installed your keyboard, do it. It helps your muscle memory. What else have you found, Nathan, that's been helpful this week?
As far as as far as the learning Hebrew aspect, I'd recommend that Drops program. I think you can get get the free trial for it.
Yep.
And it'll teach you how to write, block form, really rudimentary. Like it shows that the mem is a triangle with a line going off it, as opposed to
what's the name of that one again? That program?
Drops Hebrew.
Drops, like drop something on the floor, drops, or
like
drops of rain, drops.
That's right, raindrops. Mm-hmm. The idea is that it kind of it uses these what do you call it? There's this idea where in the program you'll click and you'll drag something and you want to learn it. So you drag it down and you put it into this little character's head. It flaps open, you shove it down in the brain, and there you go. You learned it, and it says, "Well, you learned this word," and and then it kind of drills you on those things. It's actually it's got an algorithm that helps you remember things. So, like if you get something wrong, for instance, then it'll say, "Okay, well, he doesn't know this one," and then they'll immediately start kind of drilling you on that. But then it will continually bring it up later on down the road in such a way that is most conducive to your remembering. And I don't know how it does that, but there is an algorithm.
It does work, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think it works pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably the best way to pick up on vocabulary. Just
okay.
Not really syntax structure of sentences, but vocabulary.
That vocabulary app that's really popular out there on the Androids, I haven't found it very useful. I want to be able to diagram these words. They'll give you the, what the contraction or what all the letters together mean, like Google Translate does. But I want to know, how does it break down? What's the root word? That seems like the app I want, if not to build it myself, so that I can really learn it. But what do you think of the idea, Nathan, of studying Hebrew on Sabbath? Would you say that would be an allowable activity of Sabbath?
I'd have to pray about it. I think my mind is busy trying to learn things. So, but it's definitely something God would want us to do. It would definitely take priority. But I don't know I don't know. I think right now I could probably say it would probably be fine.
Mm-hmm.
But later down the road I might get stressed out and
I love it. I can't stop on Sabbath. I have to has to bleed over into my Havdalah Sabbath, and then I bleed it over again into Sunday, so I can't stop. That's where my 40 hours come.
Well, there's a program that the military put on. I think you can download it pretty much anywhere you can probably just type it into Google, but there's a book that trains soldiers how to speak Hebrew in like a couple months. It might be possible we could fire up a Zoom meeting and slam it out and learn modern Hebrew at least, and that might help.
Yeah, I won't discount that as an idea. It's not my goal is to learn modern Hebrew. My goal is more biblical, but on the other hand, would it teach me grammar? Would it help me? Soar? I don't know. Joshua or Brett, do you have anything to say? We're at the end of the program or end of the time. If you have anything you can contribute, I'd appreciate it.
I don't think I have anything really to contribute. I basically, as far as I got was to learning the alphabet, and then it's like I go just in and out on things where I have a bunch of time, and then I can really go at something, and then I have a ton of stuff I have to do all of a sudden, and it's just I just go in and out with being swamped with one thing or then being freed. So so it's hard to follow. Obviously, it's hard to follow with a group if everyone is at different
we're
different levels. But so I've got to get at a higher level here.
Well, you do keep a Sabbath, right?
Yes, I do.
And are your children always with you on Sabbath?
No, usually it's every other weekend.
So you probably on those Sabbath days, you probably could do more concentrated if that was your priority. I'm not saying it should be, but it could work that way.
Yeah, I think that is a good day to do it. But yeah.
Okay. As I've probably said before, that Hebrew expands my mind, expands my spirit, expands my understanding of Scripture generally. And when I concentrate on one verse for 2 hours, I'm looking around for different things that correlate into that Scripture. So especially if it's in the Old Testament, we don't have a lot of access to Hebrew of the New Testament. But as we translate and contribute to this scholarship, I think that we're going to have more and more to look back on. James is going to be repetitive in his grammar structure. He should be if he's the author. He's going to use the same words, and he's going to use the same patterns for diagramming his sentences. That's just the way we are. We are repetitive. That's one of the ways you can tell the Book of Mormon was written by different authors, because of the way that the words come out. Even though it came through Joseph, you think of the miracle of the Book of Mormon, we can tell that it was written by different people. So the medium of Joseph somehow captured that. So we're going to see the same thing with James and Peter and Jude and so on. So, Josh, you got anything for us, or we quit?
Oh, that's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think Shabbat is or studying Hebrew, especially if it's Hebrew for the sake of understanding the Scriptures, is a perfectly compatible activity with the Sabbath. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And you have a lot of responsibilities on Sabbath, or not so much?
That varies.
Mm-hmm. So, like Brett, Brett's can't do it every Sabbath, but at least not a lot of time. And I can, as long as I'm not going out and doing other things. So Nathan's probably in the same boat. Okay, well, I guess this is our time, 30 minutes. Thank you, everyone. Don't want to overburden this. And we'll see you next week if you have some time, or if you have any questions. Thanks very much.
All right, take care.
Bye.
So, Jonathan?
Yeah.
So how... I know you went over it last week, I suppose it was, or whenever we met last. So, how do we get samples of this version of Yaakov to look at.
Nathan, can you answer that for him?
He might be gone.
I was given my folder. I presume it was my own private folder.
Yep.
But I believe it came after I signed a contract saying that I wouldn't share any information about the actual images that it is,
Okay.
and also translation. So it comes with a what's called a memorandum of understanding. It's a contract. I signed it because I think it's far too important for.
Yep. And that reasoning for that is Dr. Jones doesn't own the images. He's borrowed them to translate, and also what gets translated, then he owns them. Now, whether we're the group that translates, I think we will be. My guess is that we will translate for him, because I think the way we're going to do it is to counsel and do so. It's like we were doing tonight. We were trying to understand the prepositions, the masculine, the feminine, the diagramming, the negation. These are things that can trip you up. It's like Nathan said at the beginning of the call, the scattered 12 mermaids, or was it the scattered 12 apostles, or was it the scattered 12 tribes? Now the King James says the scattered 12 tribes. In my opinion, it's going to be the scattered 12 apostles, because at that point the 12 tribes were not scattered. And so that's the way I would argue it. And because of his lesser priesthood pecking order, not that he's lesser, but his lesser priesthood pecking order, he would be an emissary for the 12. And so that makes sense to me. I think some of that those concepts were restored through Joseph Smith. I think then we messed it up, but those are kind of things, the kind of discussions we'll have, and we'll come up with a pretty good translation, I think, as a council of scribal thinking translators, men and women. So, and Nathan's going to get up to speed like I'm trying to get up to speed, and Joshua, you've got the kind of mind like Nathan that will do it quickly. You're young enough that you can do it. So I'm hoping you'll join the cause, and if you'd like to, I'd give you your own folder and your own memo, and we get going. So
okay. Yeah, I'd be interested.
Okay.
So
when do you want to do that?
It'll be said I will be able to work on it mostly like on Shabbat.
Okay.
So
would you like us to meet on next Sabbath or another time?
Oh, sure. Is this something we need to do in person, I guess?
Yeah,
okay.
Over Zoom. We do it on Zoom, but
the packet exchange?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yep. It's an online Google Drive folder.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, whenever.
Okay. Well, I'll contact you, and you can say yay or nay. All right.
Okay. Sounds good.
Thank you, everyone.
All right. Bye.
Let's see if we go. Yeah. It is either apostles. I'm going to go with apostles. It doesn't tell us which one, and the reason I'm going to go with apostles is there isn't any other example in Scripture where the 12 tribes are scattered. Up to that point, especially because he still had Judah of the southern kingdom.
Well, it is interesting that the early church sent out missions to Gaul and
Right.
those places.
Yep. But
So, being people who were able to heal people,
mhm.
they might have known who they were. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
Could just go with the King James, but would that
Well,
be on?
that's the point of us doing this, right? See
Right.
if we can coax out any more details. You ever taken the time to watch Nehemiah Gordon and Keith Johnson on their Hebrew Gospel Pearls?
I haven't. Is there a particular? It's an episode, like a series, isn't it?
Yeah. They've gone through 12 episodes since the pandemic started. They're now waiting to start Matthew 5, but I don't know when they're going to do their first episode, but they'll talk about, one little sentence for an hour. Whether it's the 12 or the 12 tribes or the 12 apostles, that wouldn't bother them to spend an hour. So, and those are the kind of questions they ask. So,
It seems like the word is. I don't know. I think the crux of the problem is it a Saudi? I don't know. I don't know what the problem would be, because it looks like all the characters are there.
for which one?
Oh, let's see here. For
The Shnaim Asor, right? The 12 to 12.
well, it's interesting because you have that sheen that comes out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
It says 2 for 12, and then there's the typo.
Well,
But the typo, I believe it runs off the page and they start it again, but it's Shin Vet Tov.
I don't think that's
Yod
a
Mem.
typo in that case.
I think so.
But on that sheen here, I don't think that's a typo.
Oh,
Leshanaim Asor, the 12, to the 12, who Hame Puzarim, the scattered, Shalom.
yeah, yep. That's the word I'm looking for.
Shalom Lachem. Shalom Lechem. You hear that? You hear people say that a lot. Shalom Lechem. Hey Russell,
Yep.
how you doing?
I see that. I didn't see on this point, but I do see the Shalom Lechem.
I don't know that I'll stay, but anyway,
Oh, you can't stay?
right.
Okay. Well, it's good to see you. Hey, Brett, how are you? Good to see you.
Hey, good. I'm driving, but I am here.
Well, wonderful. Wonderful to have everyone. Let's get started.
Refresh. So it has that little curly bit.
Why don't we just say a quick prayer? Go ahead, my friend Nathan. Can you just say a quick prayer for us to start?
Yes.